As dawn broke over Ireland on July 1st, 1690, Drogheda's residents awoke to chaos from the west. The deposed King James II had crossed the River Boyne overnight near Oldbridge and camped. Here he'd attempt to reclaim his throne from his son-in-law, King William III of England. William of Orange. As William's forces appeared, their superior numbers, weapons, and experience were unmistakable. But James held a defensible position on the south bank. This battlefield encounter would echo across Europe for centuries. At stake, the British throne, French continental dominance, and religious power in Ireland. On the Boyne's banks, 4 hours would reshape Europe forever. King Charles II's reign ended February 6th, 1685, after nearly 25 years. Despite success following the Wars of the Three Kingdoms, he'd failed his subjects catastrophically. No legitimate heir. His successor was his controversial younger brother James, who in 3 years made enemies throughout the kingdom. Through calculated actions, including undermining laws prohibiting Catholics from public office, the new king alienated supporters who, fearing another English civil war, conspired to remove him. They balked at a Catholic dynasty ruling Protestant England, but James's kingship wasn't the only option. Before James's accession, King Charles II arranged a Protestant match for his niece Mary over her father's objections. Mary wed William, the Protestant Prince of Orange, whose ambition was nothing less than England's throne. "I much prefer apples to those bitter orange bastards." William of Orange. The prince had royal pedigree, son of another Mary, James's sister, and was the continent's premier Protestant champion. William took seriously his role countering the most Catholic and absolute of monarchs, King Louis XIV. He'd built an anti-French alliance in the League of Augsburg, but his recruitment target was England. Her powerful navy offered an enticing prospect against France. For William, marrying the second in line soothed his fears of Catholic takeover. James was aging, and without a male heir, his succession would be brief before William's own wife ruled. However, events shattered William's hopes. On June 10th, 1688, Queen Mary birthed a healthy boy, the final straw. Fears of English Catholicism and absolutism intensified. 7 prominent Protestants had already negotiated with William across the Channel. Worse, whispers circulated that the royal birth was fraudulent, the newborn smuggled in via warming pan. Though untrue, such rumors would have made any Catholic dynasty defunct. Unsurprisingly, William found these claims convenient, given his ambitions. Every bullet has its billet. William of Orange. Ready for war, the prince was trapped in port through October by adverse winds. James believed God protected him, but that protection lifted as William sailed November 1st, borne by a Protestant wind. He sailed through the English Channel, making landfall at Torbay November 5th, with 11,000 foot and 4,000 horse. English nobles declared support for William, swelling his ranks. England's king fielded 24,000 troops, marching to Salisbury to confront the invaders. But James proved his worst enemy. After learning of mutiny and defection in his ranks, he lost nerve and withdrew to Reading. This weakness provoked more defections, including high-ranking men, most notably John Churchill, future 1st Duke of Marlborough, and the Duke of Grafton. Confidence spent, James fled to France and was deemed to have abdicated. William entered London triumphantly December 18th, and on April 11th, 1689, was crowned King William III, alongside his wife Mary, as co-monarchs. In 6 weeks, William had conquered England without military action. Matters have come to a point that the monarchy must be dominant or put to an end. James II. Despite his ignominious flight, James wasn't finished. With fiscal support from King Louis XIV, who loaned 6,000 French troops, James crossed the Channel. The showdown venue wouldn't be England, but Ireland. Many Catholic Irish recognized James as legitimate English monarch, and he promised religious freedom, nullified land confiscations from the 1640s, and favored parliamentary autonomy. The tide shifted toward the Catholic majority. James's man in Ireland, Earl of Tyrconnell, had quietly recruited Catholics into his army. Resistance pockets existed, concentrated in the north. Eastern Ulster was secured with victory at Dromore on March 14th, pushing Protestants west. Meanwhile, James landed in Ireland March 12th with French troops, plus English, Scots, and Irish volunteers. In the north, Protestant Derry refused a replacement Jacobite garrison December 7th, 1688. When James was fired upon April 18, 1689, the 105-day siege commenced. Despite time, blood, and toil, defenders held out. Williamite vessels broke the River Boyne July 28, relieving the city. July 31st, the Jacobites conceded defeat and withdrew. In England, King William felt secure enough to commit to Ireland. He selected the 75-year-old Duke of Schomberg to lead the expeditionary army west. The goal: engage and defeat the Jacobites decisively. It is not necessary to hope in order to act, nor to succeed in order to persevere. William of Orange Schomberg's army landed at Bangor Bay, August 13th, and forced Carrickfergus's surrender, August 27th, after week-long siege. With Ulster lost, James balked at French advisors urging westward withdrawal. With Dublin's path open, he chose to prevent its fall. His main force moved near Drogheda, and the Duke of Berwick harassed Schomberg's advance. Berwick's efforts inflicted unusual damage, impeding Schomberg's advance through systematic destruction. This, plus worsening weather, devastated Williamite forces. Schomberg halted near Dundalk, and disease accomplished what Jacobites hadn't: camp fever reducing Williamite ranks by nearly 1/3. Near Drogheda, James was aggressive. Wishing to press Schomberg, he ordered his army within cannon shot of Schomberg's defenses. Days passed with staring and saber rattling. Seeing his challenge rejected, James grew confident. Eventually, Jacobite forces withdrew, though morale rose among green Jacobite ranks at Schomberg's unwillingness to engage. The Dundalk refusal nudged James and his Dublin army into overconfidence. Meanwhile, English Parliament questioned the war's prosecution, particularly supply of suffering men. William, desiring quick conflict resolution, resolved to command personally. "There is one certain means by which I can be sure never to see my country's ruin. I will die in the last ditch." William III, with 15,000 soldiers, siege guns, ammunition, and 200,000 pounds in silver, King William sailed from Hoylake near Liverpool June 11, 1690. In Ireland, Schomberg forced Charlemont's Jacobite surrender. King William landed at Carrickfergus. Correctly surmising James wouldn't allow Dublin's seizure unfought, he made its capture his objective. On June 22nd at Dundalk, forward units clashed. Though Williamites fared worse, James ordered withdrawal south to Drogheda, using the Boyne as shield against advancing enemy. Early Monday, June 30th, William's first troops arrived on high ground overlooking the Boyne, the king arriving soon after. Deciding to probe Jacobite positions, William sent parties to Slane Bridge and Oldbridge, his men suffering under small arms and artillery fire. What happened next was bizarre and nearly decisive. Apparently unsatisfied with reconnaissance, William mounted his horse with staff and rode to Oldbridge Ford. Then, perhaps astonishing watching Jacobites, halted for a picnic. Unwilling to let this opportunity pass, Jacobite horsemen, possibly including Tyrconnell and Berwick, rode to the river parallel to William, positioned 2 small cannons, and fired as the king's party mounted to depart. The first shot killed a man and several horses, but the second struck true. Ricocheting off ground, it hit King William's shoulder. News spread through both armies that William had fallen. Word rapidly reached Paris, where jubilant crowds burned effigies and the Bastille fired celebration salvos. Cheers and relief also spread through Williamite ranks. Far from dead, William, wound-dressed, rode openly through camp with Frederick Schomberg. The battle was on. On battle's eve, William heard rival attack plans, some advising redeployment to easier crossing areas, others favoring forcing Oldbridge. William settled on his own plan. Deducing numerical superiority, Count of Schomberg would cross at Slane with the right wing, while his father, the Duke, would attack at Oldbridge with the main body. The king would lead the left wing, crossing just below Yellow Island. As dawn broke, Count of Schomberg had already marched his 7,000 men toward Slane Bridge, but learning of its damage, redirected toward Rossnary. His forward cavalry met withering fire from Jacobite dragoons under Tyrconnell's nephew Niall O'Neill, though initially successful as Williamite infantry and guns appeared. Fire weight cleared the way, and the Count's wing began crossing the Boyne. At Donore Hill, James and his war council were far more pessimistic, initially deciding on Dublin withdrawal. Jacobite plans revised as their flanking maneuver fears materialized. James made the fateful decision to square up against William at the Boyne. Mistaking Count of Schomberg's flanking force for the entire Williamite army, James marched 2/3 of his force to intercept. At Oldbridge, James left the remainder under Tyrconnell, Berwick, and Hamilton, around 8,000 foot and horse, facing 24,000 Williamites. Brutal Williamite artillery battered Jacobites for an hour before the terrifying sight of Dutch Blue Guards inching across the Boyne. Advancing in formation, the Guards' bodies formed a human dam, raising water to chest level, forcing them to raise muskets and satchels overhead. As the first line clambered onto the south bank, Jacobite fire tore through them. Though checking this initial line, subsequent Dutch infantry waves overwhelmed the Jacobite line in furious, foggy melee. Meanwhile, the Huguenot Brigade crossed at Grove Island, followed by the Anglo-Dutch Brigade eastward. Though Earl of Antrim's regiment marched to counter, their long-range fire proved ineffective, while other regiments refused engagement outright. With Williamite numbers inexorably increasing, the situation reached breaking point for Jacobites. The dogged Dutch Guards now had fresh Huguenot support, and 4 more battalions from the Williamite center poised to cross, supporting the Oldbridge spearhead. Compounding danger, the Danish brigade began crossing via Yellow Island, with Jacobites buckling to their left and facing frightful odds. Antrim's regiment also withdrew. As Jacobite infantry shattered, Earl of Tyrconnell ordered a cavalry charge of 1,000 Irishmen. If they could drive the Blue Guards back into the river, they might have a chance. Across the Boyne, King William spied hooves bearing down on his guard, muttering, "My poor guards, my poor guards." As Jacobite horse engaged under Duke of Berwick, the disciplined Blue Guard met them with musket shot and bayonet, Jacobite cavalry swarming around them. Richard Hamilton tried organizing an Irish infantry countercharge, but most were raw recruits, unaccustomed and unwilling to engage in bloody melee. Instead, Hamilton attached himself to cavalry being organized by Tyrconnell. The Life Guards, Tyrconnell's own regiment, and Parker's regiment under Hamilton's command thundered back into emerging Williamite ranks. Meanwhile, old Duke of Schomberg led his brave charge into the hellscape, leading cavalry to his own death. The 75-year-old was slashed in the head, then reportedly shot in the neck. At Yellow Island, both Jacobite dragoon regiments successfully checked the Danes' advance, though some gained a slim beachhead. However, upon withdrawing to reform and continue pressing, Lord Dongan fell. With this morale shock, both units hastily withdrew south. King William wasn't idle that day. Seeing his army cutting across at Oldbridge, he led his cavalry force downstream via Drybridge. This crossing was deeper, man and horse struggling. Upon touching the south bank, William, still affected by the cannon shot, shoulder injury, collapsed for minutes to catch his breath. With William's crossing with large cavalry numbers, the game was up. The Jacobites had pinned down Williamite infantry due to lack of cavalry. But with this advantage lost, general Jacobite withdrawal south ensued. King William led his cavalry harassing retreating Jacobites, but met stiff resistance at both Donore Graveyard and Platten Hall. At the former, fighting was confused enough that the king narrowly avoided death by pistol shot from his own men. Even if tragedy had struck, overall battle momentum was incontrovertibly with Williamite forces. 3 miles west, King James sat idle, glaring at an active Count of Schomberg's wing, stalled before marshy ground below his position. As news reached him of the Oldbridge disaster, James considered fighting the younger Schomberg, but on scouts' advice thought better of it. When he spied some of Meinhard's units moving south, as if cutting off retreat to Dublin, James's nerve cracked again and he ordered general withdrawal. William didn't press fleeing James because, among other reasons, his main body was still reorganizing and resting after the South Bank fight, and the Jacobite garrison still held Drogheda to their rear. By day's end, the field belonged to the Williamites. The effect wasn't immediate Jacobite resistance collapse by any means, but the outcome shattered James's resolve to fight on. He fled to Dublin, reportedly blaming his Irish soldiers for defeat. As for James's army bulk, many grumbled he'd thrown victory aside through poor judgment in unwittingly moving troops from the main battle theater. Indeed, most Jacobites that day never unsheathed swords or fired shots. James sailed for France July 4th and died there in 1701. Despite victory, the Battle of the Boyne didn't immediately result in Williamite victory in Ireland. 2 sieges of Athlone and Limerick in following weeks were unsuccessful, and not until the decisive Battle of Oldbridge, over a year later, were Jacobite hopes finally extinguished. The Treaty of Limerick ended the conflict that October. As for William, he reigned jointly then, alone as King of England, Ireland, and Scotland until his death in 1702. He remains a polarizing figure in Ireland to this day.